Hey, everybody, it's your girl, author Doc B. She's in the building. And guess what? We have a special treat for you tonight. Sorry about that. I'm a few minutes late because I had some technical difficulties. And God will look, it's still acting up, but we're going to hope that the system catches up to itself. We have Eric backstage. Let me tell you something. Oh my gosh. You know you're on Bring It to the Table. See, it keeps getting frozen, and I'm trying to get this thing straight for you all. Please click like and share. I am going to go on right now and we're going to go public with everything. And God willing, we will be able to get through this episode without a problem because right now it is on private and now, boom, I just made it public. So, what we're going to do is click like and share. Please, we take comments, negative, positive, and we want to improve in our content on the show. Now, let me tell you about Bring It to the Table. Bring It to the Table is a safe space where you can come to discuss anything you've overcome, conquered, or survived, and is now living beyond your dreams. Ooh, yes. Let me tell you, anybody, and everybody knows that I had a crack addiction, I had a cancer diagnosis, and I had COVID-19 almost took me out of here. Okay. So the bottom line is if you had anything in life, I'm talking about anything in life that you have that help you excel and that you get to get through and get to the other side, you're welcome to the show. So just inbox me, hit me up. Now, we want your comments. You know we want your comments. Please put your comments in the chat. Please give us some of those hearts. Let me see those hearts. Where are those hearts at? Because we want those hearts. We need them. Okay. Um, Thank you. I seen one just popped up there real quick. I appreciate that. And let me see. Is Carolyn on? Thank you for joining. Then let me see who else is here with us. I'm telling y'all getting ready to be in for a treat tonight. I'm gonna let him stay backstage for 2 minutes or so. 10 minutes to be exact. Oh, bad. That's bad. I'm gonna bring him on now. Let me get him. His name is Eric. You're gonna love him, I'm telling you.
Hi.
Hi, Eric.
Hi.
How are
I'm
you?
all right. Thanks for having me on, Felicia.
No problem at all. Thank you for agreeing to come on. Atlanta's finest is on, everybody. Say hi to Eric.
Hi,
Listen,
everyone.
I need you, Carolyn. I want to see these comments. Jessica, who else is on here right now? I need to see you all participating tonight. This is an interactive experience for you all. How you doing? How was your day and all that stuff?
Well, my day was pretty good. The reason why is because I didn't screw it up. And the reason I say
Hello.
that is because I spent a lot of time doing that, and I became what's known as an expert at it. I was also an
Mhm.
expert at self deception, which
Mm.
is along with that and denial for so long kept me living the way I was living and digging the hole deeper and deeper and deeper. And
Yeah.
I was in denial that I was digging that hole.
Wow. Well, welcome to Bring It to the Table.
Thank you.
I appreciate you coming on. And so, your topic tonight is surviving addiction and living beyond, and I say dreams because that's our language, but it's really, I want to say, your own expectations, your expectations of yourself, getting to where you are. Really loved how you opened up and said, I didn't screw it up, you know?
Right.
So I have a couple of questions and then we'll engage and see if the audience have anything to say. And then we'll just keep going with it until we're done.
Okay.
Um, and my first question is, who is Eric? Can you tell the audience who you are? Where are you from?
Well, that is a good question. I don't know where I'm from. I'm not from any one place. I do know that. Um, I was born in Minneapolis and moved to Manitowoc, Wisconsin, then moved to Kansas City, Missouri. Went to elementary school there and moved here to Atlanta, where I went to high school. And I've been
Mhm.
here ever since. That was in 1990. So I've been here for quite some time. Um, and really, my uh, story, it started long before that, but it really didn't take
Mhm.
off until I got here. Uh,
Mhm.
I came from a family uh, or a background where it was normal to work hard and party hard. Um,
Mhm.
for example, when my daughter had her first birthday party,
Mhm.
I thought it was normal to take a case of beer to it and drink that case of beer. Um,
Mm.
things like that. It progressed from there. Yes, it did. And The way I look at it is that all of that stuff happened for a reason.
Yeah,
There are people out there who need to hear my story because they may be looking for help themselves.
absolutely.
And as many people have told me, it doesn't matter where I am. I'm in the right place at the right time, where I
Yeah.
need to be.
Mhm.
And Another thing that I've learned in the last few years is the definition of success. If you look it up, it says achieving a goal that you set out to achieve. Uh,
Simple, real
Very
simple.
simple. So I didn't realize, I thought it was attached to money or careers or things like that. Um,
Mhm.
but I guess it's one of those things that cannot be understood until you get there yourself.
Yeah.
Um, that when all you want is a day clean, and then then you're able to get that day clean many days in a row, that is success.
Mm, 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 mm. Boy, oh boy. That was just as simple as it comes. That was amazing.
Thank you,
That was
thank you.
absolutely phenomenal the way that you put that. And you got choked up there a little bit. I heard it already. I'm like, oh, he's getting choked up. And that's okay because it just means that, it's the sincerity. It's just touchy when we talk about where we came from, period. you know and so do how long have you been clean or sober, and which ones do you identify with?
Well, I can identify with a lot of different things. At the place where I go on a regular basis, we say I'm an addict.
Mhm.
Another place that
Okay.
I attend, we say I'm in long term recovery. Um,
Hmm.
but it's been since June 3rd of 2017. That is 6 years, 1 month, and 2 days today. So,
Good job.
yeah,
Congratulations.
and as I like to say, I have the power of choice today, and I've got money in my
Hmm.
pocket from yesterday.
That's right. Woke up with a bunch of it. It ain't
Oh, yeah.
gone. That's a whole goal by itself, a successful day.
Right.
Hi, Antoine. Thank you for joining. Thank you for your comment. They said that was well put, that you did an amazing job on that. I agree with him. I think you're an awesome person. Your spirit. I just want to tell the audience that when I first met you at the place that we go to, I say 12 step meetings. I say all that stuff openly, recovery stuff. But I don't say the name of the place because, we don't want to violate anything. But the
Right.
bottom line is the place that we go to support one another. I met you there in Atlanta. And it was during the, this last couple of months. And I've just walked up to you, and your spirit is something. It's like, it's magnetic. It's like, I was like, hello, I mean, and you like, we hugged, and it was just an amazing moment. I'm like, oh my God, this man's energy is like, I was gravitated towards you to ask you, can you come on the show? And I've heard you speak. I've heard you say some really powerful, powerful things. So thank you for showing up. I want to say that part. Thank you for showing up and being willing. So my next question is, it's about the backstory before now. Can you talk to the audience about the traumatic life's experiences? You can
Yes,
say
yes.
one or two of them. What was it like? Um, well, did you say what was it like growing up in the household? Did you
I
talk about that?
I did. I had, I guess, a pretty good childhood. I never went hungry. I did have strict parents. They were just trying to do the best they could with what they had,
Mm-hmm.
and it also you also have to think that it was a different time period. So raising children was quite a bit different. But when I was out on my own, um, one day I remember I didn't have much to do. I was 22 years old, and I was thinking to myself, hey, maybe I'll go sit at the bar. Other people do it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically, I just did it to kill time.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that I was more or less planting a seed that was going to grow and then one day
Mm.
grow really quickly. Um,
Wow.
Quite a few years later, I guess I was about 29. I had just imported a Vespa motor scooter from Italy,
Mhm.
and about a month before, and I was on Moreland Avenue, which, for those of you who don't know, is a very busy street here in Atlanta. And when I was in Little Five Points, the light turned red, and so I stopped. Well,
Uh-huh.
the guy behind me did not feel that he needed to stop, so he hit me and
Mhm.
knocked the bike out from under me, knocked me 27 feet out into the intersection.
Wow.
And rather than get in the ambulance and all,
Mhm.
I decided I was going to go across the street to one of the bars and get loaded.
Mhm. Uh-huh.
And so I did that. I
Mhm.
rode that bike home. It was not really rideable
Mhm.
looking back. But at that point, I didn't care
Right,
because I was off zero. Um, and
right.
so a guy that I knew had given me a half of a sandwich bag full of pills. He didn't know what half of them were. I didn't
Mhm.
either, but I took a whole handful and went to the doctor the next morning.
Mhm.
I didn't even know what those were. Um, it slowly progressed, and then one day, let me back up a little bit. Then I was trying to quit
Mhm.
for almost 3 years, or right
Mhm.
about 3 years, and it had progressed to the point to where I would say to myself, "Okay, well, I'm going to quit this. I don't have a problem with that, so I'm going to do that."
Mhm.
Things like that, and it was ideas like that in my head that kept me telling myself that I didn't have a problem. I wasn't an addict.
Sure.
Um, I would do things like steal money from my wife and help her look for it, even though I
Mhm.
knew exactly where it went. Um,
Mhm.
and then one day, uh, we went out for breakfast. It was me, my wife, and my parents. And
Mhm.
rather than taking a to-go box home to work, or I mean
Mhm.
to the house or anything like that, I got dropped off at rehab. Um,
After
and
dinner,
after breakfast,
after
um,
breakfast. Okay. Wow.
right? And so I at first I thought, well, I don't need this, but I was there, so I said, well, I'm gonna. take a little bit of a break. I've
Mm-hmm.
been trying to do this, and so it more or less allowed me to get my first little bit of time,
Mm-hmm.
which and it also taught me a few of the small basic things, I guess, that had flown over my head, like keep it simple. Um,
Ah, that's
it,
my favorite.
right. If you don't pick up, you won't get high.
Uh-huh.
The
Come
simple things.
on.
Um, and and it was my best thinking that got me there. Things like that.
Nice. Yeah.
And so I right before that happened, uh, I made my way into the place where I attend on a regular basis, and
Mm-hmm.
I heard one guy say to another guy, "I haven't seen you in about 2 or 3 weeks." And
Mm-hmm.
my thought was, "Wow, they've got 2 or 3 weeks. I'm in the right spot." Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then later I found out that those guys had like something like 23 years or something like that.
Uh-huh.
And I I I knew recovery was possible. I just didn't think it was possible for me. Um,
Mm.
I had an uncle who at that point had 20 years. Um, but like I said, I knew it was possible. I just didn't think it was possible for me.
Nice. Okay.
Um,
Okay.
and
That's a journey.
right, and so when I got out of there,
Mm-hmm.
I found out that uh, someone said staying clean is cute, but if you want to get better, we're going to do a little work. And that's when I
Oh,
found out that
that work. Oh my
where
God.
we go, drugs are only the symptom of the problem. And that is what
Mm-hmm.
got me there. But
Mm-hmm.
now I live a new way of life to where I'm a better person and I don't have to continuously look over my shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to worry about someone coming up with a hammer behind me and
Right.
popping me on the head with it. Um,
Right.
Things like that. And from doing that for many days in a row, um, I have learned things and realized things, like the difference between someone who is spiritual and someone who is religious is
Mm-hmm.
it's simple. Someone who is religious is just trying not to go to hell.
Not going to hell.
Right. Someone who is spiritual has been there and doesn't want to go back.
Don't want to go back.
That's it.
That's
And
some really good stuff. That was really good. Oh my goodness.
and
You know, thank you for that. That's really
yeah, yeah.
good. That's really good. And so this went on for how long?
What's that? The addiction?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. It went from my early 20s to I got clean when I was 40.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was my bright ideas that uh,
I
kept
love the bright
changing things.
ideas.
Uh, like one day I decided, okay, well, alcohol is my problem, but cocaine's not,
Right.
So at that point, it went like a bag of bricks going off of a cliff. It went
Mm-hmm.
quick.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I started doing things like taking people's stuff and helping them look for it.
Mm-hmm.
And what are you talking about? Not me.
Right.
I don't
Okay.
have a problem. You have a problem, things like that.
Okay.
Um, but I think looking back that some of that denial and things like that were a blessing
Mm-hmm.
because I know it just helped me get drug longer down that
Mm-hmm.
gravel road. And now
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to go back.
Ever. Ever.
Not ever. See, uh, back then, I had problems like I was hungry, I was broke, I'd get some money, and I would not buy food. And that went on for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it it came at me from multiple sides because when I woke up in rehab that first morning, I could no longer walk. like I said,
Wow.
I got hit by a car in 2005. Well,
Yeah.
all that pain was being covered up, and that was an excuse to get loaded. Um,
Mm.
and so I didn't know it, but uh, my back was really jacked up. I had lost a lot of weight,
Mhm.
um, and so I really didn't have the, I guess, body to keep my skeleton in where it was supposed to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so one of the guys I was in rehab with was a chiropractor.
Mhm.
And he would adjust me twice a day. I needed it
Bam!
twice a
To
day
put you back together.
just so I could walk. It took me 10 minutes to get up half a flight of steps.
Wow.
Um, and I was hanging onto the wall to get down the hallway. When I was sitting down, it was one of those things to where I couldn't stand anything other people did. Someone would leave the light on. I really wanted that light turned off. But was it
Right.
worth falling through a table that I had to
Mhm.
walk past to turn that light off? So I learned how to be humble really early
Nice.
on.
That's
And then
beautiful.
another thing is it's
Mhm.
hard to be humble when you're asking for help constantly.
Yes, 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 yes. Come on, you talking that language.
But
Well, there it is, folks. You heard it right there. It's hard to be humble when you're asking for help. You heard it right here on Bring It to the Table with your girl, Author Doc B. We got our special guest tonight. That will be Eric. He is from Atlanta and he is in recovery. And he just told us about the story. He told us about those childhood days, who he grew up with, how it was for him getting hit by a car and having to learn to walk again and get cracked up by the chiropractic joint. Now, I would say that was one of those God of your understanding moments, right? That
it
he just
sure
had
was.
him there.
Well, it was one of those things because when I first got thrown into rehab, I had quite an ego. Um, let's see, I'm a
Do
musician,
tell.
and at that time, I was we were putting out records on tour all the time, and I thought I was on top of the world. And then when the guys in my band were like, "Dude, you need to go to rehab," I was like, "What are you talking
Oh,
about?" It
but were they
wasn't
using with you though? But were they a part of, you know?
well. If you want to find out who your real friends are, go to rehab. Uh,
Hello, somebody.
that's all
They
I've got
left
to
your
say
butt
about
right
that.
there and kept it moving.
They did. They
Most of
did.
the time, that's how it is. You know, when
Well,
we no longer fit. We no longer fit.
well, uh, uh, one after I had about 8 or 9 months, I went back on the road with the band, and I will never forget this. The owner of the club uh, in Corpus Christi, Texas,
Mm-hmm.
pulls out a gallon or 5 gallon trash bag. It was huge, and said, "This is cocaine. Just came across the border a couple hours ago." And I said, "I'm going to go sit in the van." One of the other guys came out to
Wow.
the van later, eating invisible cheeseburgers attached to his ear, so it looked like it was some pretty good stuff. But I kept my clean date. That's all that
Wow.
mattered.
Wow.
Well,
And you
see,
refused it.
I did. The one thing that I know from experience and from hearing other people is, uh, okay, it is like a train. When you hear the horn, it's warning you about that first car coming down. It's
Mhm.
going to hit you and smash you up. It's not.
Yes.
It's not telling you about the third or fourth car. It's
Mhm.
warning you about that first one. So it's that first one that'll get you. And that
Mhm.
was the thing I was missing for those 3 years. That I had all those bright ideas of, I don't have a problem with this. I'm going to try that.
Mhm. Mm.
Yeah.
Nice.
And so I had finally gotten it, and it's one of those things that I had to learn. It's more about the journey and the experience, and less about the destination,
That's beautiful.
because, like I've heard it said, this is not something I can graduate from, because who's going to sign the diploma?
That part right there.
Yeah,
It's all about that next day.
it is.
Get another day. And so it's fair to say that, the 12-step model is what actually helped you.
It is. That's not the only pathway, but that's the
Mhm.
pathway that worked for me.
Okay.
That's the pathway that I continue to choose. Um,
Mm.
I'm sure I could find something else and it could work just as well, but I'm comfortable with this, and I like this one, so I'm going to stick
I
with it.
love this one. I love this one. I'm a little upset I didn't get a chance to go to New Orleans this weekend. I was like, oh, I missed that one. Well, because I'm so busy getting adjusted to Atlanta area. It's so much to do here. This is a great place. So now, my next question would be: can you tell the audience, once you put substances down in the early stage of your recovery, what was that like in the early stages? And actually, how much time did you say you have?
I've got 6 years, 1 month, and 2 days. That's 2,223 days in a row.
Come
Um,
on.
yeah. Uh, well, what I had to learn
Congratulations.
at first
Early stages.
was not to tell myself this is forever. This is for this many years. This is for this many months
Mhm,
or anything like that. I broke it down to uh, getting through the day, broke it down from that to getting through an hour, and broke it down from that to just not doing it right now.
wow.
Um, and it was hard for me at first. It made it easier that my mobility had kind of gone out the window. uh, Honestly, at that time, uh, Netflix had just started streaming, I think, or at least I noticed.
Right?
um,
And you
and
just dug
so
right into it.
I spent a lot of time watching Netflix because I did not know what else to do with my time. Um, and it was explained to me that all I needed to do was make it through the day, and that was
Mhm,
it. Go to bed, clean. That was it. And
mhm.
I also had one of the counselors at rehab say something along the lines of just try it for a year. If you don't like it, your misery can be refunded 100%. Yep.
Mm,
And so,
I
you
love
know,
it.
and he just got 16 years right before I got 6.
Wow.
Yep.
That's amazing.
But
That's
I
beautiful.
I heard things along the lines of if you want what we have, you have to do what we did. And what I knew is what not to do. And
Mhm,
so then I saw some people, and I learned from watching them and from hearing from them and others
mhm,
that you can't control what other people do, but you can
mhm,
control your reaction to it. Um, and so sometimes other things like as simple as pick your battles.
pick your
Um,
bag.
I don't have to argue and prove I'm right, even if I know I'm right, um, on a consistent basis. I just say okay and keep it moving. And
Now, how long did it take you to do that? Because that still doesn't happen to me today. Come on.
it's a learned process.
Mm-mm.
It's one of those things that once you find peace, uh,
Mhm,
and the way you go about doing that is through a lot of work. And
mhm.
during that process of the work, I myself found out that the cage I was in for so many years, I had the key in my pocket the whole time. And because of
The
all that
whole
work, the whole time.
okay.
And
Well,
once I found that key, I found my
that was
peace,
it.
and now I'm hanging on to that thing with death
Mhm.
grips.
Yes, as you
So
should.
when somebody wants to argue or something like that, the first thing, the way I don't think about it quite like this anymore, but I don't want them to take my peace from me or disturb my peace. Well,
Mhm,
in reality, they can't take the peace from me because they didn't give it to me.
mhm.
But you know, uh, I just say okay and keep it moving. I
And
don't tell them that they're right or that I'm right or they're wrong or anything like that. I just say okay.
I'll argue to the end of the world. I'm sorry. I'm and then I'll justify it. That's why I got to keep coming.
Right.
I got because my brain. But anyway, thank you, David, for joining. Thank you, Danny, for joining. Thank you, Carolyn, for joining. Thank you, Antoine, for joining. Thank you, Ryan, for joining. Oh, they're gonna happy camper. Thank you, Willie, for joining. Thank you, Sharonda, for joining. I see you all. I see you in Sierra Leone. What are you doing up? You're supposed to be asleep right now. Thank you for coming. I really appreciate all your support. Thank you, Kasana. Thank you, Cassandra. Thank you for your constant support. Um, we here on Bring It to the Table appreciates your support very, very, very much. And so we are talking today about surviving addiction with our friend Eric, who's in recovery over 6 years. And we are truly, truly grateful for him volunteering because some people have mixed emotions and some people say stuff like, well, I don't want to go on there, I'm breaking the tradition, or you can't talk about this, and you can't. And I'm saying, did you ever hear the recovery podcast? It's like this is modern age stuff. Like I'm a part of the carrying messages and education through this platform, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity, Eric. I really, really am.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And by the way, this is tradition 5 right here. We are carrying the message.
Come on,
The
y'all heard it.
reason why we carry this message is because we can't carry the addict. And
That's
at the
right.
end of the
Come
day,
on.
the message
Woo,
is
he
all we
dropping
have.
jewels. Y'all hope y'all paying attention because he dropping jewels. That's right, buddy. I love it. I love it. And so let me see. What's my next question? No, I don't like that one. Let me see this back here. My next question would be, okay, what what do you do for a living, and did you go to college, and talk about your educational journey if you have one? I'm not sure what you're doing.
Okay. Well,
And how does that play in a role in your recovery?
well, I work in a garage, and the guy I work for is in recovery, um,
Nice.
and I just recently got moved from the garage to the front, and the reason is because my mobility, and like friends would stop by, and I would hear after high, I would hear, "You really need to find something else to do," and so I already knew I was hanging on way past the expiration date,
Mhm,
but
mhm. Ooh,
uh, th-
wee.
there were a few reasons. One was the money. Another
Mhm,
was that's what I knew to do. Um,
mhm.
I actually went to college for fiber optics back in 2000, but that didn't hit until a few years ago. And
Wow.
so when
What is
when
that
I
about?
fiber optics,
Yeah.
it basic the easy basic version of it is it's light that travels through a glass tube. Um,
Wow.
and so you really can't get data to move much faster than the speed of light.
Mhm.
But that was we were still using AOL dial-up at that time, things like
Oh,
that, and
Lord. You're going
yes,
way back now.
that I mean that was almost 25 years ago, um, and so since that didn't work out, I had to find something else to do, and I'd been told the whole time I was in high school that I needed to find a trade. And I thought to myself, well, it's kind of recession proof because people are going to be fixing cars regardless.
Yep.
Whether, and when you're in a populated area like Atlanta, it doesn't matter if half the city, for example, buys a new car because you've still got plenty of older cars to work on, things like that. Um, and, uh, you know, I remember that when I was strung out in my addiction, I would spend pretty much all the time I could up there doing stuff on the side, doing sneaking this, sneaking that.
Ain't that
Um,
something?
right. And so I haven't uh, done anything quote unquote off the books since I've been clean, maybe once or twice for someone else in recovery to help
Okay.
them out.
All right.
But that is generally how I made my money to score, or uh, when I got back from being on the road on tour with the band, I would, before I even got home, I would meet up with the dope man and spend all
Mm-hmm.
my money.
Of
Um,
course.
if not all of it, at least half to three quarters of
Okay.
it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. We really do appreciate that. And so I'm gonna be wrapping it up shortly, but at this point in your process of recovery, 6 years, where do you see yourself going moving forward?
Well, one thing that I've heard many, many times is you can't recover today on yesterday's recovery.
Hmm.
So I need to keep everything fresh. Staying clean is more or less a habit at this point.
Yes.
Other things are more or less a habit at this point. Kind of like I go to the gym, let's see, 5 or 6 days a week.
Nice.
And that started out for a few reasons. One is when people go to rehab, that's what they tend to do.
Well, yeah.
Another is trying to stay out of a wheelchair. I'm
Okay.
still not in a wheelchair. I do have a handicap pass from the state of Georgia
Mhm.
and I'm still coming to terms with that. I guess the
Mhm.
reality has not yet set in, but uh, uh, I struggle to walk. Some days are better than others,
Mhm.
and so the way I look at it is that the bad days are there so I can appreciate the good days.
Come on.
Um, you know,
Come
um,
on.
because if I try to have high expectations, I'm just going to let myself down every time, every time.
Okay.
And that is part of what was fighting against me, or how I was fighting against myself, trying to get clean those 3 years that I was unsuccessful. Um, and when I figured out, it was as simple as just be still, just breathe.
Be still.
Uh,
Yes. Learn, learn,
I,
learn, learn,
and
learn.
then I learned things that, I mean, they sound so simple, but when you put them to work, they are the most usable, genius things I've ever heard.
Uh-huh.
Things like, just because you have a thought does not mean you have to act on it. And that,
Simple.
for that reason, the thought stays a thought, because once you put it into action,
Mm-hmm.
um, if, for example, I have learned that this disease I live with, it is only arrested. So if I wake it up and I let it out, I don't know what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I might stay longer than I want to stay, spend more than I want to spend,
Mm-hmm.
do more than I want to do. I might not ever make it back. Um, that 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 does happen. That is a reality.
Yes, it
There
is.
is no guarantee of one night and then pop back in. There's no guarantee of that. I've heard stories like that. I've heard stories about guys having 20 years, a bright idea, everything's going good, and then 6 years later they come back. Things like that. And then I hear stories about people not making it back at all. So
Yes.
you know, uh, I hear a guy say he serves a God of many chances.
Oh
but
yeah.
you never know what chance you're on.
Wow. That's deep. Well, there it is, folks. You heard it right here on Bring It to the Table from Eric himself. God gives how many? But you don't know which chance you are in. That was, boy, that was deep. I love that one. Thanks. He's dropping jewels, ladies and gentlemen. He's dropping jewels. Let me tell you. Please, if you have any questions, somebody in the audience, Carolyn, she says, "You never lied, Eric. You never lied about that one." If you have any questions, just drop them in the chat. I'm going to wrap up with this. Um, so now that you have all of this recovery and all of this knowledge, this information, and you learned all this stuff, would you say that addiction was a choice or is it a disease?
I would say it's a disease. As far as the substance using part, there was that invisible magic line that I crossed, where I turned from a cucumber into a pickle.
Okay.
If you can show me uh, how to turn a pickle back into a cucumber, please get that person in touch with me. But once I crossed that line, there was
Mhm.
no memo, there was no email, there was no neon light, or nobody told me or anything like that.
Yeah.
But the living survival part of my brain was then hijacked,
Hmm.
and it was more important for me to get loaded than it was to eat. It was more important for me. So at that point, it wasn't a choice. It wasn't priorities or anything like that. That's why it's called a disease, is because my priorities got put to the side and changed, and everything was thought out for me. It, in all honesty, it was kind of like having a job that I did
Hmm.
not apply for. I had no days off. I had no holidays. I had no
Hmm.
weekends off. When it said go, I went. When it
Hmm.
said pay, I paid. When it said, well, we're broke, we got to get some. Okay, I figured out a way. Um, I guess looking back, uh, if MacGyver was a kindergartner compared to some of the stuff I've seen.
That's amazing. You are amazing. And any final words, any final remarks to the audience? What would you tell them about um, addiction? The best way, what is it that you would have to say to them because you survived? Because now living beyond your dreams was another part of it. So in this last question, I think you already explained. Really, you did with what living beyond your dreams looked like, all that you've been through. But you want to talk about that in this last question, you can, and also include some final remarks.
Okay. The first thing is the hardest thing to do, or looking back, the hardest thing that I feel there was to do was to ask for help, was to say, I
Mm,
am dying inside, I need help. Because on the outside, I looked like I had it made. Um, and I've heard plenty of stories since I've gone to rehab about people, on the outside looking okay and dying inside. Um,
mm,
because I know from experience that just because you need help doesn't mean that someone's going to know. You have to tell someone. You asking for help is not always easy, but it is necessary. Um,
oh
and
my.
you know, it, it's it's one of those things, to where there's pride involved, there's stigma involved,
Mhm,
things like that. But the saying is, you can't save your face and your ass at the same time.
mhm,
Um, and so all those years of having the chest puffed out, I don't need anyone, I can do it, things like that, and then finding out it didn't work for me, and then finding out the thing that did work
mhm,
was when I hooked up with someone else who'd been through a similar situation,
Mm-hmm.
and more or less blazed the trail that I could follow. And
Nice.
so there is help available. There is hope available. Um, we just need to know that you need it. Um, things
Yeah, once you
that
identify it,
right, right, and
they're laughing at you. Got them all laughing in the chat. You should see them. They're cracking up.
um, it's very important to ask for the help. It really is,
I like
and
that.
I found out that once it's asked for, if you ask the right people, which I apparently did,
There
uh,
you go.
they don't they weren't interested in where I was from, what I did, what
Mm-hmm.
sports teams I liked, or anything like that. They just wanted to know what was my problem and how they could help.
Well, there it is, folks. That was simply amazing. Those final remarks was outstanding. Ask for help if you need it. Even if you don't have the ability to, and someone points out to you that something's wrong with you, that you need to do something, God willing, you'll be able to get a clear message from them that you need help. Thank you so much for coming on. I really do appreciate you, Eric. You were amazing. I'm
Thank
going
you
to
for
send you a
having me.
copy of everything. You're going to be on Spotify. You are on Twitter. You're on my YouTube channel. You're on my Indeed. You're on my Facebook groups, 2 groups. You in the Call to Philly group because I'm from Philadelphia and my girlfriend's writing the book. Call to Philly. I'm an administrator on her page. So you're on her page as well. And you're on my Facebook page. You can take all of this stuff and put it on any type of social media. Do whatever you want with it. It is yours to keep. But we want to thank you so much for coming on. Daniel is in the chat. They're saying thank you. Thank you. Everybody saying thank you. Thank you. Those are your people. I know it because I never saw them before. Please come back next time. We got some really good people from the Atlanta area that's going to be sharing with us next Thursday, 8 p.m. Thank you all for joining and good night. Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night. Bye. Say great job. Oh, they're still in there chatting away. They'll be there for a minute, maybe chatting. Oh, that was amazing.